Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. I'm your host Ben, and with me today is Richard.
Hello. That was the Halloween style intro. You're a little bit early there, Ben.
Was it I don't. It's a bank holiday intro, and I'm just ready to not do much else other than this and play video games for a couple of days. And also, I believe, joining in that style of bank holiday approach, we have Rob.
Hello.
He was very good then. He was very quiet and waited for his introduction.
Oh, yeah. It's called
Very
being a good member of a podcast. I very much want to do the same on this bank holiday weekend. But tomorrow I'm going to IKEA, so I'm very happy. I love IKEA. It's Ben's idea of hell.
It's literally one of the circles of hell.
No, it's heavenly. I love IKEA. I'm literally sat at an IKEA desk with IKEA bookcases behind me, IKEA tables next to an IKEA sofa.
I mean, I've got IKEA furniture next to me too, and I don't dislike what you get there. It's just the experience of being there, to the point where it's like it's a joke, isn't it? It's a joke. Everybody knows that IKEA is hell.
No,
isn't that? Where do you fall on IKEA, Richard?
IKEA was built on my school field, so I don't know. Mixed feelings. It's weird because I grew up in not a particularly affluent town, and having IKEA there, it sort of felt like, you know, when the ship landed from Close Encounters.
You felt special, chosen.
Yeah,
like you'd arrived.
Advanced civilization has somehow arrived at our school.
That's Swedes.
Yeah,
the advanced civilization, the Swedes.
To be fair, they are pretty advanced. They've got a lot of stuff sorted that we haven't in this country.
For a while, it was the thing to do, to go to IKEA for your lunch break at school and just get as many of those small pencils as you could get.
Okay, confession time. I have an A4 Jiffy bag stuffed full. I used to go to IKEA and take pencils. I'm never gonna run out of pencils. Like if the world ends and pencils become the new currency, I'm gonna be rich as fuck.
Just to point out, help me out. Am I correct in this, Richard? You'll know. The Swedes can't be advanced because their method of dealing with COVID was let's pretend it's not a thing. Was it not?
What has their death rate been?
Not great, is it?
It got pretty high, actually. Yeah. I believe they went for the whole herd immunity thing as a national policy, and a bunch of them died because of that. So it can't be the best. They're not that advanced, surely. That was Sweden, wasn't it?
That was Sweden, which surprised me. I thought they were better than that, but that together with the fact that they still have a monarchy, maybe they're not as progressive
advanced. I mean, I'm making a trip. I've already been threatened with a trip by my wife, who's asked for a trip to IKEA from her parents for her birthday, her 40th. So they're going to be partly funding a trip to IKEA, and I know I will be included in that, and I can't wait, hon. Yeah.
Just quickly linking back to Sweden and COVID, they've had 14,000 deaths.
Yeah, but they've got a small population, haven't they?
True. We're sat at what, 140?
We've got a much larger. I mean, what's their population like? 10 million, 15 million, 20 million?
You're asking me these questions that really I should.
I figured you're looking at Wikipedia at the moment, so I figured.
Don't know what you're talking about. Would I do such a thing?
It's a very strange start to the podcast this week. While you look up that information, let's talk about briefly what we've been watching. I know, Richard, when we last spoke, you were watching the Mighty Ducks movies. Have you finished that, and are you onto the TV show?
I finished the movies, but not onto the TV show yet. That is on my list. I don't know how we got sidetracked, but we're watching Tiger King now.
Wow, that was a
bit late.
Very late.
Yeah, that's what everyone was watching last year. But we recently watched the Louis Theroux documentary about him.
Yes, I heard that was good. Did you watch that before watching the show then?
Yeah, we the show had passed us by.
So you watched the documentary on him revisiting Tiger King after the show, the Netflix stuff, in relevance to that, and then went back and watched the Netflix stuff.
Yeah, we're watching it in the wrong... Well, is it the wrong order? Because the events run reasonably concurrently, don't they?
I'm sure, but fascinatingly weird people.
When he's in prison, yeah, it is weird.
Very strange.
You got probably the more honest angle from it from Louis Theroux, I think. But we just thought we'd go back and watch the Netflix show.
He's Yeah, he's really good. I watched something last night though, Rob, that I thought Rob will love this. It's on Netflix. It's called The Mitchells versus the Machines. It just came out this week, and it's a new animated film by Lord and Miller, right? So Lego Movie and Into the Spider-Verse, and it's about this dysfunctional family and dealing with the machine uprising, and it was amazing.
Okay.
It was amazing.
EastEnders spin-off, is it?
The Mitchells, yes. Yeah, it's great. Oi, Peggy, come on, let's go. Yeah, that's exactly what
Get out of my post-apocalyptic yard! That's what's going to, like...
Fantastically heartfelt, hilarious, and really, really good animation. I was like, I know Rob likes his CGI animation films like Meatballs and stuff. Some of the few films Rob have seen are mostly animations, aren't they, Rob? So, I mean, I honestly thought Rob will love that. So you have to check that out, Rob. It's a strong recommendation for you there. And it was really, really good movie. Really, really good. Just a really nice, fun adventure with some interesting... Like, the lead character was a young girl who's about to go to college, which isn't a sort of kind of age group you see represented that much. So I thought that was quite interesting and different, and yeah, it was just really cool. It was a really good movie, so everybody should watch that. And also, Richard, have you got Apple TV Plus?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you did. I know so many people don't, and it's such a shame because the shows on there are so good. Like, so I've watched, I couldn't stop watching Ted Lasso, which is just... Have you heard of it, Richard?
No, I haven't.
So Ted Lasso is Jason Sudeikis is a kind of collegiate level American football coach that gets brought to the UK to be the manager for a UK Premiership team, right? And he is this motivational, like, lovely, kind-hearted man. He's about personal development, making people better people. He's just such a sweet guy. And then it's just that smashing up against the money-driven cynicism of the Premier League. And, like, you know, everything that's just happened with the European Super League and how that thankfully tanked. But, like, that coming together and him actually making people better and, like, bringing this optimistic Americanism sort of style. And also there's fish out of water, and also it's, you know, a great, you know, sports. If you're in your sports stuff right now, I highly recommend Ted Lasso. I absolutely adore it. Season 2 is coming in July. Just amazingly funny.
Is that what you were talking about last week? You talked about that on the show last week.
I finished it now, and the ups and downs of that final episode are just like, oh my god! I was literally cheering out loud. I'm sitting on my phone watching this, and the wife's like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "Yes!" And then I was like, "No!" shouting. Like, it's not often a TV show will have that effect. And Jason Sudeikis is so good in the lead, but the whole cast is amazing. And it's just characters you completely fall in love with, and surprisingly quickly. It's only 10 episodes. They're only 30 minutes long, but by the 2-3 episodes in, you are absolutely in love with these characters, and you're completely invested. With most sitcoms, you look at Parks and Rec, you look at the US Office, it takes you a good season or two to really care about the characters, but they just nail it out the gate with this. Like, completely brilliant. Like, one of the best sort of workplace comedies you'll see, and there's not that much football in it at all, so don't let that put you off. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, I think it's the Apple thing that puts me off. It's the idea of having another streaming service. That's one cross against it, because I've already got too many. And then I don't really want to give Apple any money either. But I don't know.
I know that feeling.
Sure, but they've got Foundation coming. They've already got a raft of really high production value, really high quality shows. Like, there's not as many as on Netflix, but it's cheaper as well. So it's only like $5, I think, a month, like $4.99, which isn't too much. And you know, you can get a trial, and I think in that trial you could easily like knock off Ted Lasso, for example, in a week. Like, you do it in a few hours. I was blown away by it. But there's also, I'm really looking forward to on there, Mythic Quest Season 2 is coming in the next week or two as well, which is another where I've talked about this before. It's another workplace comedy but set in a video game developing studio. Very Ubisoft in vibe, and also made by the guys, you know, made Sunny in Philadelphia and stuff like that. Very different tone, but very, very, very good as well. Like, really excellent. So, yeah, lots of good stuff on there. Have you guys been watching anything? I often come with a raft of things that I've been watching, but
I have watched Stowaway on Netflix and enjoyed that a great deal. Have you seen it?
No, it doesn't even ring any bells.
It's who's in it? Flipping heck.
We don't know. We've not seen it.
Christ. Anna Kendrick is in it.
Right.
And the woman out of Hereditary, the mumsy one.
Right.
What's her name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember from
Yes.
trailers that I wasn't paying attention to.
I can picture the person.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully listeners can picture the person. I'm rubbish at this. It's like I've just started podcasting, isn't it? So anyway, Stowaway...
You mean you weren't prepared for the random tangents, Richard? How could you?
Stowaway. It's a space drama about a mission to Mars.
It's a film.
And-
I was thinking TV show. It's a film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a film.
Right. I was thinking TV show. Right. That's why I was not connecting. But yes, I am aware of this movie. Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's excellent. So it's a 3-man crew to Mars, and the setup is that there's been some corners cut in the mission, and it was only meant to be for 2 people really, but they've pushed it out to 3. But shock horror, it turns out there is a 4th man who has been sealed into a wall of the ship, and no one realizes he's there until they're on their way to Mars. So what do you do?
It's not H, is it? You mentioned the 4th man. I was like, well, that's the other show I'm watching religiously, Line of Duty. So that's the final episode tonight, and I cannot fucking wait. But anyway, yeah.
Well, if that's the twist, yeah, he's gone to Mars. I'm disappointed.
They're going to catch him now, are they? Crossover.
Yeah. So yeah, the politics of it. Like, what would you do if there's a 4th person? Do they deserve to be there? If anyone has to suffer the consequences of there being too many, who should it be?
Who's getting spaced, basically?
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
currently, NASA is having a big debate of whether it's ethical for Mars dwellers to eat their comrades when their comrades have died. That is a current debate going on around the NASA community. But in a Mars colony, should you eat the dead?
Yeah, I'm going to go yes. I'm going to go yes, because it's survival.
Ooh.
It's a survival situation, so I'm going to go yes. And you are so far away. It's not like somebody can pop over with a Burger King. You know, you got to do what you got to do.
You can't get Uber Eats to Mars.
I'm sure Snoop Dogg's on that with Just Eat. Yeah, he'll be sorting that out. But no, I'm going to go yes. And also, talking about real science, it's blowing me away how cool that probe is with the helicopter thing. All that footage. I'm just like, we're finally getting there. We're finally getting to fucking the future. This is like, it's taken so long, but this is so cool. And the whole way that thing landed and watching those videos, I was like, I've not been that excited about real space exploration, bloody whatever, fucking Elon Musk and his relandable rockets. I don't give a shit about any of that crap, right? But this
Why
stuff...
not?
Oh, that stuff is so cool.
That is cool, but it's not got...
so amazing engineering.
Yeah, yes, it is, but it's also, he did it over, launched in over Earth, came back to it. This is on Mars. This is another level, right? This is on Mars. This is the stuff this is what I've wanted to see for 30 years. So,
from my knowledge, you quite like the technology in the cars and stuff behind F1, right?
yes,
Yeah. So they have to do the stuff on the testing and the development side to be able to do the cool stuff with the cars.
sure.
It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
I will point out
So
F1 is not yet on Mars.
Yes, F1 is not on Mars. That wasn't the point I was going for, but Richard is correct. We can confirm as of today, it's not on Mars.
we just need to get to Wipeout level racing. Like, bring that on. That's what I want to see. Gravity sleds. Come on, let's have maglev racing. Let's see that. But have you been watching anything, Rob?
No.
No. Okay.
Nothing consequential.
Sure.
That
Should
was
we?
a nice, quick answer to that one.
I just felt
to
bad.
prevent
I watch so much stuff, and I dominate this segment. So yeah, bring your things if you have watched stuff though. But news. Should we go on to the news?
Yes.
Should we do the news? Richard's gonna kick us off.
Let's start with the old regulars. So, what's on Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus this month, guys?
I feel like we should have like a little tune in the background, like go on, Richard, go on.
We can have a tune, just not that one.
I was thinking the exact same thing. We love you really, Ben.
Is he crying?
Probably.
Aw, shame. So, Games with Gold, it's another month of uninspiring titles that make you think, how much do they care about this service now? They clearly want to get rid of it. They wanted to price it out of the market. now they're offering nothing with it, so people just buy Game Pass, aren't they?
Well, Rob, someone's jumped ship, haven't they? Jesus Christ, he used to be an Xbox guy. Listen to him now. Oof.
Well, no, I was an Xbox guy because I like Xbox stuff, but when it's bad, it's bad.
Go on then, what games have we
also
got?
disagree, because
Let's find out.
I really enjoyed.
Let's find out. Let's hear the games and then we can tell him how wrong he is.
Look,
Go on.
I have a disclaimer here. These might be good games, but from the point of view of, are these enticing to someone who wants to subscribe to Xbox Live Gold? No, because no one knows what they are. Armello is the first one. What's that? You tell me.
Isn't that the board
video game
one?
board game? Yeah.
Yeah, I've played that. Yeah. Is it Armello? I thought it was like Armorello or something like that.
It's Armello.
It is Armello. Okay. Is that the one with the Badger Man on the front?
Yes. Yeah. And the rabbit.
I have played that. Yeah, I remember. I think I might have reviewed it.
Think it's supposed to sound like Armadillo because there's a creature on it? No,
Could be.
Armello.
Okay.
And then Dungeons 3. Is that another like RPGs?
So that's like like a dungeon master builder dungeon game, like fantasy. You're the bad guys, you know, that kind of. I think I could be wrong. I think
I'm probably going to give it a download. It sounds interesting.
I've got it in my library, but one of those games I think I picked up cheap and never played it.
So, yeah, I think for you guys, bearded nerds, it's probably a good month, isn't it? But
just because that's an accurate description.
You're throwing shade, man.
I'm not using it as a pejorative. It's just a fact, isn't it? You guys are interested in those games. You are bearded nerds.
Therefore, correlation is causality, right?
Good match for you.
What other games? What other games?
More broadly, we've also got Lego Batman. You know how I feel about Lego. Move on. And Tropico.
Love Lego. The Lego Batman, I've played that. I've perfected it.
I'm with Richard.
Such a fun game.
What was the final one?
Tropico 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Tropico's again. That's a city builder kind of colony management game, which I do enjoy those games a lot. Yeah, they're okay. Tropico
it's a bit strategy heavy, isn't it? 3 out of the 4 of them.
Yeah, board game as well. It's not thrilling, I guess, but like it's not terrible. The actual quality of those games is quite high, but they are very niche. I think that's fair to say. They're very niche. Come on, then, what's Plus's counter offer, as it were?
Plus is a bit more exciting for someone who's got less of an attention span like me. Wreckfest. So smash cars up and drive them fast.
Playing that in Game Pass for the last 6 weeks or so. 2 months.
I was going to say it's on Game Pass already. Apparently, it's pretty good. I haven't tried it yet, but
it's good. Yeah, it's a really good driving game. It's much better than it needs to be, considering it could just be a Destruction Derby rip-off, but it's actually a really good racing game as well. Really, really good.
Yeah, I was going to download that and give that a try, but yeah, you can get that on PS Plus this month as well. And Battlefield 5.
It's pretty big.
That leads into, that's pretty good. It's a couple of years old now, but that's leading straight into Battlefield 6, which we should see at the end of the year. Not particularly exciting installation, was it? I mean, I think you guys talked about it last week, didn't you?
We did.
About how that was marketed as more, I don't know, more of an interesting title than it ended up being. It's kind of a vanilla World War II title.
Yeah, it was definitely shown off as it almost felt sort of alternative World War II, from what I remember the trailers. Yeah. But then it ended up just being
female soldiers with swords, and it looked as if it was going to be like really cool and a bit different, but it wasn't really.
No.
And then Stranded Deep is the final title, another PS4.
I bought that on sale on Xbox, and it is massively broken on consoles. Like, that game is almost unplayable on consoles. Frame rate and interface, and oof, what a big woof.
Want to tell us about it? What is it?
So Stranded Deep is you get stranded on an island and then have to survive. And there's sharks in the water and stuff. And it's basically like a tropical island survival game. You're like picking shit up and fashioning materials and stuff like that on the island. And it's not just one little island, but there's like archipelagos, and you can get in your boat and you can paddle to other ones and stuff like that. But it's a risk reward a lot around like the sharks in the water and the idea of that. But it's just very uninspired in its kind of presentation and mechanics. It doesn't really do anything new in the genre. it's from that element, it's fine. But I had issues with the UI. I had issues with understanding what I should be doing. I imagine this is coming to Plus because it's finally. I think it was in game preview on Xbox. I don't think it was fully released. So I'm guessing that's now happening, which is why it's coming to other services. Yeah, it didn't really do anything for me. I thought the idea was cool, the setting, but then I was just like, wow, this is quite boring. It's the same loop as you get in all the other games, you know, pick stuff up and then somehow make them into a thing by pushing buttons.
Well, sounds like something that'd be interesting to try if you've got it in your Plus package anyway. But,
yeah, sure. Yeah, well, free is free.
That not a particularly weak month for PlayStation. Again, I feel like it's edging out Xbox.
I think that's kind of much of a muchness there. When you consider that there's games there that are on Game Pass already and have been for some time. I know it's a different offering, but
you're right. Yeah, I mean, this ignores the Game Pass offering, which is kind of my problem with Gold now. It is pointless if you've got Game Pass. If you didn't have anything, you wouldn't miss this, would you?
There is an argument to be made where Gold should just be stopped now.
And Plus, they both need to go. It's ridiculous that we're still paying for multiplayer in 2021.
Yeah, you have to pay a surcharge to play with your friends.
It's just a weird legacy thing now, isn't it? It's almost like it's just, oh well, people keep needing it, so people keep paying for it, and nobody's really complaining, so we'll just keep doing it. And it's like, guys, you know, now that Xbox have finally made free-to-play games actually free to play, it's like maybe we should be thinking about multiplayer in general. I feel like the writing is on the wall. I do feel like that's coming. I do.
I think if Xbox gets into the position where they have more of a captive market and they're not feeling like they're still so far behind PlayStation, if they get there and Game Pass is strong enough to sustain itself on its own, they'll kill Gold off. They don't need it.
It needs
I'm sure that's what the price hike that they went back on. I'm sure that's what that was about. They want people not to bother joining it to give themselves an excuse to can it.
Back in the day, there was logic behind it. Now there's not. Yeah, it's irritating.
It needs to go away. Right, so in relation to that, and in talking about, you know, how well Microsoft is doing and stuff, Microsoft's game revenue is up 50% year on year. Small increase. 50%, much to do with Series S and X's launch at the end of last year. But, you
lockdown as well, isn't it?
Lockdown as well, yeah. A lot of people playing games.
Everyone's revenue's up. It must be similar for PlayStation and Nintendo.
Xbox hardware revenue grew 232% in the quarter.
So just a little bit then.
That's insane.
Just a teeny bit.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it seems inevitable, doesn't it? Really, that's going to be the way things are. Like you said, we're seeing this across the board. Like even we're going to talk about, you know, Cyberpunk. We talk about a lot. You know, they've done well even with the problems they've had and stuff. You know, everybody's playing games, aren't they? This is like, I don't know if there's much more to say around this, really. Obviously, Microsoft are investing heavily into their first-party studios with their acquisitions of people like Bethesda and many, many others prior to that. Obviously, they're looking to the future, but even with that, and even with the restrained sort of ability to get hold of this new hardware, whenever any of it does become available, it immediately sells. So it's insane. And I was talking to Rob about this the other day, but the resale value of even your One X has gone up because people can't get hold of the newest thing, so they go for the next best thing. So if you go on eBay now, you'll find One X is going for almost MSRP, which is insane, right? It's crazy town right now out there. Yeah, everybody just wants to play games, and it's kind of a shame in a way because you're going to find there's not a lot of good new games to play this year. So I think it's going to be, we're going to have all these people interested in, not a lot of things for them to actually get into. But if you've not been a gamer before, a heavy gamer before, it's not like there isn't, especially on the Xbox platform, a huge back catalogue of titles you can play very, very easily from the last, 20 years, basically, of games. So.
This is the thing, I think, for anyone, whether you're a newcomer or you play games every day, if there's no games coming out, there's so much more you can go back to. You and I have got a backlog as long as our arms, haven't we? And,
it's
Robert,
hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
Hundreds of games.
He's very much like, okay, this is a quiet year for releases. Cool. That's a loud year for clearing off the backlog. There we go. Exactly. That's this year.
That's good. One thing
Absolutely.
that stood out in this story, because they've gone into some more detail about where the money's come from, Minecraft has had a pretty good year and generated $350 million. And the thought struck me, how much did they pay for Minecraft? I wonder if they've started to make any money back on that.
How much did they
'Cause
pay? Can you remember? I can't remember. It was a lot.
Bear
wasn't
with
it?
me 2 minutes. Keep
I
talking
checked
about the
earlier.
story, and I will let you know.
I've already checked. It's $2.5 billion they paid in 2014. So
They must be in profit now, mustn't they?
if this is like a record year for them, then I don't think they can have made that back yet.
Maybe not.
Which
Maybe
is
not.
Certainly-
mad when you think that's how many years? 7 years ago?
It's getting there, because Minecraft isn't going to go away anytime soon. There's still a voracious level of hunger for it in the community, of which I am a part. I have my own modded Minecraft server, so it's the more they release, the happier I am, because that means that the base experience will improve. Mod packs will improve.
Yeah. I just don't understand business because Minecraft, when they bought it, was fairly old then. And granted, it stuck around and is still doing well. But is it really a great investment to buy something that you're not going to get your money back on for, 10 years?
But you're probably looking at the tail on Minecraft never diminishing. It's probably going to be a platform for younger gamers root into gaming and the diehards like Rob for there's no limit, is there? I mean, it could go on forever, really. I feel like
it brings people to the platform because Minecraft is everywhere.
I feel like Fortnite's hot right now, but that's going to age more obviously than Minecraft because obviously Minecraft's art design and look and gameplay is kind of outside of that. It's timeless because of its style. Whereas Fortnite's gonna start reaching that edge where it's gonna start looking old and looking dated, and there's newer stuff that does it better and stuff. So, but the way they're countering that is let's just put everything we can into it, which is pretty genius. So, but yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see how that all pans out. Right, Rob's got the next story.
Oh, let me consult the list. Yes, so Microsoft is reducing its cut that it gets to match the Epic Games Store. So with the digital purchases of games, inevitably Microsoft gets some and the developers get some. Of course, that's got to be how it works. But they're splitting it. So starting on the 1st of August, developers will receive 88% of the revenue for any game sold on Microsoft's PC storefront, up from the current 70%. So that means devs get a fairer shout of their money.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
on board.
great. That's really good news. I mean, the 70-30 split is pretty archaic. And I think Epic were at the front of changing this and evolving this with they came in straight away out the door with the 12% to 88% split, which I think is very progressive, forward thinking, shows that you support those developers, shows that you support the industry, and that you're not in it just to make money, and it's cool that Microsoft are matching it.
Technically, you are correct in everything you've said. Sorry?
It's a big drop, isn't it? It's more than half of the cut. It just
Yes.
makes me think, is that going to cause any problems for Epic?
No, not at all, because this is everything Ben said was completely correct, but they're trying to put pressure on Valve and Steam because Steam have the 70-30 split. So now another PC gaming player has turned around and gone, no, 88-12. So that's going to put more pressure on Valve to turn around and look at their percentages.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the other angle that Epic were doing this knowing they were undercutting the competition, but was that a long-term strategy that they had in mind, or have they had the rug pulled out from under them a little bit, knowing that Microsoft are now doing the same, and they're suddenly thinking, oh god, we've got to carry on doing this now?
I'm not sure. I mean, Epic's strategy seems to have a few different elements to it, doesn't it? So they obviously have their exclusivity deals, which would be a further lump sum or some kind of profit shares deal with the developer, and then they obviously have the whole way of encouraging consumers into the storefront, which is free games all the time, no strings attached, and here's a free game. Every kind of 2 weeks there's something new, and then sometimes every day, depending on the time of year, at Christmas and stuff, there's new games. And they're just building your library and trying to encourage you into their ecosystem that way. And it's interesting because the storefront itself is woefully inadequate compared to Steam. But you are getting people that are coming over to Epic. Then again, you have the diehard Steamophiles that won't touch it with a 10-foot barge pole because reasons that I don't really understand. But much like people who are loyal to Macs, or in Rich's case Microsoft, it doesn't always make sense, Mr. Three Zoons. But there you go. I mean, some people just buy into an ecosystem, don't they?
Zoon is good.
I think this is all part of Epic Games' plan to try and take away the competition from Steam. What I don't think they've quite thought out is the fact that people just look at them and go, well, we'll have both.
That's how I do
it. Yeah. Like, I've got Steam and I've got Epic. If it's a game I want that's free, I'll take it.
I reckon I've got about 100 games on Epic now because of the freebies. Something like that. It's quite a lot, quite extensive. It's not as many as I've got on Amazon Gaming, which is in the multiple hundreds. Thank you, Twitch Prime. And then Steam, I'm still probably in the lead there with probably like 500, something like that, games on there. So
I never bother claiming my Prime games.
You're foolish. You should. There's a lot of good indie games in there. Really good indie games.
It's not exactly surfaced, is it? Like, who tells you that they're out?
You just have to look. You just have to check it every week or so. Is what I do. Just keep an eye on it regularly. But yeah, there's definitely ways of building your PC library very easily and very cheaply available at the moment. So yeah, Richard, update us on what the hell is going on with Frogwares and Nacon.
Oh yeah, the Sinking City. So we've talked about this on the show before. How the developers of Sinking City, Frogwares, have been in legal wrangles with their erstwhile publisher Nacon over the rights to publish the game, and there've been arguments about whether Nacon have the rights to publish all versions of the game or just certain platforms, and they've been in trouble for hacking the developer's copy of the game to put on Steam, rather than put the legit version on, because they don't have the legit version. So that's all kicked off. What's happened this week is that the developer Frogwares has released an updated version of the Sinking City for next-gen consoles. That's now available on Xbox Series X. I don't know if it's on PlayStation 5. Is it?
Probably, but I couldn't tell you for certain. Don't have one. You do.
I haven't looked, but yeah, it's on Xbox at least. And frustratingly, I thought, oh, that would be good because I've got the original and I haven't really put a lot of time into it. Let's get the free upgrade, and there isn't one because of all those legal issues. They aren't able to offer an upgrade, presumably because the old publisher owns the rights to the original version, and this new version has been released by the developer themselves. So there is an upgraded version if you want it. It's a shame that the legal stuff around it overshadows the game itself, because it does look quite interesting. And I've played a couple of hours of it.
I like Lovecraftian stuff.
It's solid. It's a solid game. It's not like mind blowing, but I think size of studio and everything, and I think they do it's a pretty good game for what it is. But yeah, there's extra, as well as the enhancements like faster load times, better textures. There's new missions in there. They've added new content to it as well. This new edition, probably to try and encourage those that can't get a free upgrade to maybe double dip. I won't be doing that unless I see a price cut on it.
Not for the price, but 50 quid.
No, I'm alright.
Yeah,
but it's good that it exists, and it exists on the new platform, and maybe that means people that hadn't checked it out or weren't aware of it can now check it out. And look, you're supporting the right people in this situation. The developers direct, and not these psycho publishers. So let's not help them out. They don't need any more money. Clearly, they've got much more of that than sense, it would seem.
They need plenty of help, but no more money.
Yes. Look, I've got the next story in it, and it's a sad one. It's quite emotional. This, I mean, we all know Bobby Kotick, right? He's a hard worker. He's a genuine fella. He's been at the top of the industry a long time, and he's gallantly come out and said, "Right, guys, I know things are tough right now. We had to lay some people off. I'm gonna take half my base salary this year because I know things are hard, and I'm with you. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to drop to just under 1 million this year. That is a big cut for me, and I'm going to struggle. But yeah, sure, I'm still probably going to get up to about 200% in bonuses, and nearly another 200 million. But look, I want to help, and I understand the plight of the working man, and I'm with Activision 100% here. So I'm in for the long haul. I'm doing the right thing.
You know what springs to mind immediately here is the Jeremy Clarkson meme where he was like, "Oh no!" Anyway, that's basically this. It's ridiculous. 200 million in bonuses. Cough.
I mean, Activision fired like a bunch of people this year. Like they laying people off. There's no worse look, is there, when a CEO takes a fat paycheck and bonus after firing staff, after letting people go. Obviously, the idea here, right? Capitalist society. If you want quality leaders, you need to pay them decent amounts of money to encourage them in your industry. All right, that's the argument. So that's why they get the big bucks, because they've got all the pressures and they have to make all the decisions, and they're leading large amounts of people. And okay, but God, every time I see a picture of this man, I want to punch him. Like he really just looks like
with a car.
He just looks like the worst kind of CEO, doesn't he? I just is that just me? I mean, look, but you can't blame when companies do well and they make a lot of money, and they reward their staff, they reward their higher ups, they reward their CEOs. Fair enough. We've got this situation at the minute though. It's like Activision and now CD Projekt Red and stuff, and it's like, and the big higher ups are getting all of this money, and the staff are getting let go and or little to no bonuses, or under average amounts of bonuses as they are at CD Projekt Red, and it's like gross. It just feels really uncomfortable. I don't know what you guys think, but
the most ethical thing to do here, really, the good face-saving way for him to have done this. So I will take a 99% pay cut.
And then just take the bonuses.
And I will just have the bonuses. That's it. I have to be paid a wage because of contracts.
Well, waive the bonuses then. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to take the base
aren't
salary?
A wage. Bonuses are bonuses. When it comes to HR contracts and stuff, you need to be paid something. Like Schwarzenegger, when he was governor in California, he got paid $1 a year. He had to be paid something for having the job. But that's what I would do if I was Bobby Kotick or whatever his name is.
Kotick. It's definitely Bobby Kotick. Yes. Yep. From now on. What do you think, Richard? What do you think about all of this?
What about rich guys being rich? It's distasteful, isn't it? It's a reality of the market, but yeah. I mean, in this story, it talks about how the average Activision worker will earn 1/3% of what he earns.
1/3%.
It's just
1/3%. Yeah.
I've got nothing against people being paid really well. It's just when that's clearly having an impact on the welfare and the living conditions of your staff. They could be paid a lot more than that if it wasn't for him taking. And I don't want to make it personal to him. It's just how business is, isn't it? It's not about him. But yeah, I think it's a bit gross that the difference between CEO salary and that of the average worker is that far removed, and it's got worse and worse over a series of decades, not just in America but here too. It's not right.
This isn't the only news when it's come to bonuses this week. We've had CD Projekt execs are getting huge bonuses despite this messy Cyberpunk launch. So, they made 215 million in profit last year, roughly. Collectively, 5 members of CDPR's exec board are getting bonuses totaling $28 million.
Whereas the staff are getting below average, was the report.
Some employees 5 to 9k, with more senior employees closer to 15 or 20. And 5 people are getting shares of 28 million.
Cool. They call that profit share. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, no. It's
fair.
Like 1 for you, 5 for me. 1 for you, 5 for me. That's what they're doing there.
You're rewarding the 5 people that pushed that game out before it was finished as well.
Yes.
Like that's what that is. That's what that is, 100%. Those are the guys that went, yeah, ship it. We got to ship it. We got to get our bonuses this year, man. Ship that shit.
I think something needs to change with that attitude in capitalist society. But it won't, because capitalism and everyone likes money.
Indeed. Right. I've got another quick story here. It's sort of related to the story we had last week, which was about Battlefield and EA and how they were carving up their internal studios to basically put everyone that they could spare onto the new Battlefield game to get it shipped out this year. Turns out much the same is happening with Call of Duty, with the news that I forget what studio it is, but the ones that worked on Wrath of Cortex, the Crash Bandicoot team, I want to say, who were Activision internal studio, they have now been deployed onto Call of Duty as well, as the game is looking like it might be having some issues getting done and coming out this year. This has got a lot, of course, to do with the pandemic and COVID and working from home and the disruption we've seen over the last 18 months to 2 years now, as time continues to trundle on, as this issue just doesn't seem to be going away. But yeah, it's inevitable, really.
I'm just going to rewind about 4 points there. Does that mean the new Call of Duty antagonist or protagonist is going to have a spin attack if the Crash Bandicoot devs are involved? Just like spin on the spot and just like eat apples to regenerate health? Is that what we're looking forward to?
It certainly made multiplayer interesting.
I would play that Call of Duty if you just spin around like a top. It's like a fight. That would be very interesting.
I just wanted to...
Good point.
It's very strange, yeah. I mean, Rob's the only person that can handle this news. That we just got one of our viewers who just put a little story in that their CDPR are kind of going together to kickstart a Witcher board game. I mean, Rob is the only one that plays board games. Do you care?
Yes. I'm not sure if it's a game I'll back. I'll look at the pledge when it comes out and look at how much it's charged. I've recently backed a very expensive board game, so I'm a little bit short at the moment.
So my question is, why on earth does if this is CD Projekt Red related, why on earth do they need to kickstart this? They've got all the money on the planet from Cyberpunk. Why is this game being kickstarted?
Because it is a huge profit driver. For example, the board game that I backed recently was called Mythic Battles. And it was the second release, kind of the second version of the game, focused around Norse mythology, right? Their target was about 200k. They made over 2 million.
So really, it's just a pre-order.
It's a pre-order, yeah. And the more popular it is, the more money people feed to it, probably the more rewards people will get, because they will have more money that they already have to make extra stuff.
Yeah, I inherently hate the Kickstarter model, it turns out. That's just grim to me. It's like, if you've got the money to develop, produce, and put something up for pre-order on your website or whatever, just fucking do it. You do not need to Kickstarter.
Kickstarter is meant for places that don't. That's the point of Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's what I always thought.
If enough people are interested, we can make this. And if X amount gets invested, we can then make this as well. That's how it's meant to be, rather than, oh yeah, this company could bankroll us like that. So
it is kind of gross, isn't it, when you see people using it as a marketing tool and taking away attention from the people that need exposure on Kickstarter. Stuff like Shenmue 3 was on there, wasn't it? It's like,
yeah, that was still one of the weirder ones I've seen. Shenmue 3 kickstarted. I mean, guys, what? Help me
you
out
can get
here.
all sorts on Kickstarter, though. I saw a pledge for RGB dice, like a D&D set of dice that had RGB inside. I almost backed that. It was very fun.
So I've got nothing more to add really about Call of Duty. Yeah, them stripping developers. This is something we're going to see more and more this year within the bigger studios. I imagine actually Microsoft will do something similar. If they're aiming for sort of like, maybe, the rumors are Starfield end of year or start of next year from Bethesda, are we going to see like the internal Bethesda studios, Arcane, Machine Head Games, Are they going to get pulled in to work more closely with Todd Howard's group to get that game out of the door? Are you going to see perhaps the Obsidians and stuff like that who have RPG lineage? Are they going to get all pulled together and actually put on Bethesda projects to help them get out the door as well? I think there's going to be a lot more news of this within the larger publishing groups. There aren't that many though, I guess. So Ubisoft is the other one that's obvious, but they've gone to a bi-yearly release on Assassin's Creed, for example, already. So we're not expecting one this year. But I think you're going to see a lot more of that pooling of resources to try and get the AAA releases out, in Q4 or at the latest Q1 of next year, because otherwise there's just going to be no games. So except the indie stuff, which I'm hoping is really going to take that place.
Thing is, with Call of Duty, they could literally do anything and they would make buckets of cash because it will come with a Warzone update and everyone is playing Warzone.
Oh, they made Infinite Warfare and that didn't go well. So I don't know. Not all of their games are winners, but
it's weird, isn't it? And that was one of the best ones.
I love that game.
That one worse than that? What's that?
Ghosts?
No, Ghosts was pretty. I thought Ghosts was all right. What was the one that had no campaign not so long ago?
Oh, Black Ops 3, 4? One of the Black Ops, wasn't it? Black Ops 4, I want to say.
4, yeah, that's right.
Maybe.
So that probably outperformed Infinite, didn't it?
Probably. Infinite was that weird mid-generational release one as well. So, because Ghost was the start, Infinite was the middle, Black Ops 4 was the end, wasn't it? And just didn't. Nobody wanted Future COD. I really liked it. Really good game.
Damn good game.
Who's got the next one?
COD, Titanfall 2.
Rob, talk to us more about pandemic-related issues.
Well, in other pandemic-related issues, 44% of game devs say COVID-19 has caused game delays. This does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form, other than that number is so low.
Yeah.
I would fully have expected that 44% of game devs to say, no, it's like 50 million % of us say.
That's how percentages work.
Yes, exactly. 100%. I can do math. Right. So, they've been mentioning a lot of games. It affects huge ones like Halo Infinite and Far Cry 6, even Final Fantasy 14, which apparently is rigorously on time, as described in the PC Gamer article. They had to push back updates as well.
What?
Because,
rigorously on time?
Yes, that's how... To direct quote, even the rigorously on time Final Fantasy 14 had to push back an update.
You can't qualify the word on time. It's either on time or it's not. Idiots.
Yeah, that's poor copy, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I mean, you're not wrong, to be fair.
PC Gamer officially can't write for shit.
I think they're just wanting to be descriptive and evocative there, to be honest. And probably standing of a long history of them never delaying patches. But anyway, we go tangential. It's because of all the acclimating to working from home. If you don't have a good internet connection and dev kits that only work on VPN because they're first-party partners, then that takes time to implement and put in place and buy. There were hardware shortages at the start of the pandemic as well. Some things are still much more expensive than they should be because of scarcity, not even talking about games consoles. So this does not surprise me in any way.
Yeah, other than I'd expect it to have been worse. But I guess it's got a lot to do with... This was a survey put out around the GDC annual survey, Game Developers Conference. And it would probably have a lot to do with where in the cycle of your game you were at that point. Because I looked at this and talked about this quite a lot in the article I posted on the website. But it's a case of if you're at the early days of development, if you're like brainstorming ideas and conceptualizing a new IP or a new product, it's going to be a lot harder to do that working from home and decentralized than it would in the office around your colleagues because of the way ideas bounce off of each other and develop over time. Whereas if you're, you've got all those sort of features locked, you might still be in the heart of development, but you're not scoping out the new ideas or new concepts. Things will get easier from that point, especially then towards the end of the development, which is polish and then into going gold and then post-release patching. All of that's going to be a more simple process working from home. So that's why I fear about 2022 and 2021 a lot, because the end of 2021, because it's the newer stuff, it's the stuff earlier on which is going to see these year plus delays. So I think maybe Starfield is further along than people realize, and that's why I think we might still get that at the end of the year.
Which is why I think we got that teaser 2 years ago. They were ready to start talking about it. because it was halfway done probably at that point, if not more. So I reckon Starfield would be a good one.
Have you got the next story, Richard?
Oh shit! Is it me?
It is.
Indeed, it is.
Paying attention to what's going on there.
Where's my list? I'll tell you what I was doing. I was looking forward to talking about what games we've been playing because I just remembered what I've been playing and I'm excited. So sorry to be distracted. We are up to the story about working hours, aren't we? Yeah, that's the one.
Great bit of vamping there. We are up to this news story that I'm about to tell you about.
Which the title is...
Once upon a time.
That is how you cover, guys.
That was seamless, mate. Seamless.
No one's going to notice.
So professional. Seamless.
Oh.
Thank you. Been doing this a long time.
Please continue. Do tell.
So, I suppose this sort of feeds into what you're saying about COVID delaying game development. There's a lot of game developers who are working long hours, presumably to catch up on all that lost time. And, well, it's a perennial issue, isn't it? We always hear about game devs working their socks off to get projects out, particularly at the end when the crunch period arrives. But there's an article here on PC Gamer that gives some meat to the bones of that story and just shows how many hours most game devs do work. And while most of them do work around what you'd expect, 36 to 40 hours, that's the biggest proponent of people. There's a big old chunk of people who are working a lot more than that. So 21% work up to 45 hours, 12% work up to 50, and there's a good 10% of people who work more than that even.
That 4% where people are working more than 60 hours per week, that needs to go. Like, devs need... Well, the management of the devs need to make that improve for their workforce. It's not fair on the devs.
It's not fair. I mean, when I first read this story, I had not the nicest reaction to it, and I rethought it. I thought, well, my wife works more than that and she gets paid less than a game dev. But actually, that's not the best way to look at it, is it? It's not fair to compare who's the worst off. It's about how it should be better for everybody. And whatever industry you're in, if you're having to do that many hours just to get the job done, there's something that's gone wrong there. And I don't know whether it's worse. My wife works in care and she regularly works 60 hours a week. It's just normal. Whether it's worse for someone to do that because someone needs care, or to do it because someone needs to make a profit, or play a video game at the end of it. I don't know what's worse.
I had a friend who works in care. She works 180 hours in a month.
Wow.
Hold on, 180 hours in a month?
Over a 4-week period.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's a lot, yeah. That's another, 10 hours a week?
Yeah, it's insanity how overworked some industries are, yet they're poorly paid for it in comparison. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing to bear in mind with those surveys that, again, off of the GDC survey, I think that was put out as they go every year. It very much depends if the game you're working on is hitting crunch as well in that 12-month period, right? Because these are kind of averages, and if you're obviously doesn't reflect crunch, if you're not in that point, if you're not in the final year of 3 of your big AAA title, you won't probably be doing the 90-hour work weeks, and that's sort of the issue, isn't it? It's not so much what do you do every week on, right, which you'd expect to be around that 40-hour mark, but then it's starting to be expected that once every 2 or 3 years you're going to go from 40 hours to 60, 90 hours, just because that's what's expected of you in the industry. And obviously that isn't specific to games. That comes up a lot in software in general and development in general, but is that right? Is that just sort of a thing? Should we just go, all right, well, you chose to do this as a job, this is your career choice, you're accepting that, that's...
Short answer is no. Crunch should not be a thing unless there is a fundamental issue. I have got on my soapbox about that before. It's not fair on the devs doing the hard work. that they should have more time. They should be able to see their families during that time. So yeah, you might be getting Valhalla ready or whatever, but sorry, family and living is more important than Valhalla being on time.
Oh, why are you picking on Valhalla there, mate? But...
It was the first game that came into my head. I don't know why.
Ubisoft.
It's literally, I could not think of a single other video game that existed apart from Valhalla.
But yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Especially as it's often either not paid or not overtime paid, or there's a lot of like other issues there that they're generally not remunerated based on the work that they've then done, even if they've chosen to do it. That they're not not fairly rewarded for it, which is insane, isn't it? Like, nobody should work and not be paid to do it. Let alone asked to do it in the first place, so, and it's never asked. It's always like it's implied.
Asked.
Yeah, it's this cultural thing, and it's like, ooh, that's just grim, isn't it? It's just grim. Grim. Right, let's what we've got next.
Next,
Rob,
I am sad.
Rob took this
next
story.
time. I am sad. Next up, because the death knell has arrived on gaming magazines. It appears. Well, on official ones, anyway. So thank you. The long-running official PlayStation magazine has ended. It has been rebranded and become the Play magazine, but we don't have an Xbox magazine anymore, as far as I'm aware. We now don't have a PlayStation magazine, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know that there's a Nintendo magazine this side of
there is not
the world.
Nope.
So. Yeah, after 25 years, the official PlayStation mag has stopped. Which is quite sad.
So what official magazines did you guys buy? I mean, I bought OXM back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a young'un, I used to buy the official Xbox magazine. What about you, Richard?
I tended not to buy the official ones.
Nah, mostly I didn't.
There was that thing about how they were, I suppose, a bit torn in what they were going to tell you, whether it's honest or not, because they're official. Are they really going to give their own games a bad review? So that was my feeling about them. But that said, I did buy the official PlayStation magazine. That's the only one that I did buy. And looking back at that original first issue, now I remember having it with the demo CD. That was the big seller, wasn't it?
Always the CD/DVD on the cover. Yeah, that's why you'd buy it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I was considering getting a subscription for the Xbox One. I noticed I couldn't find it recently. Now I know why.
Why were you considering getting a subscription to a gaming magazine in 2021?
I like it, but I like printed media. I'm weird. You can tell by the collection of books behind me.
It's quite strange, and yeah, in 2021. That's why they're all going. I saw their number in their story about the circulation that it had. At one point, the circulation on OPM in this article was higher than FHM, which, if you think about that, that's quite impressive. In the millions, and it was down to a circulation of about 20,000 at the end. So it's massively reduced. So the writing's on the wall there. The good news is, though, that the team behind OPM are not going anywhere. It's just becoming the Play magazine. I think they're going to call it or something like that instead. So they're dropping the PlayStation, and it's not going to be officially branded, but the magazine is going to continue, which is great news, because when they shuttered OXM, it was just gone. The future just canned the whole team. But it's one of those things, is that, for me, if I'm going to buy a printed media magazine at this point, it's probably because I'm getting on an airplane, and it's probably going to be Edge, and that's pretty much it. I'm probably not going to buy
edgy?
it. No, Edge to me has always been the high watermark for journalistic, the writing, the articles, the actual coverage in Edge has always been very, 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 very good. To me, it's like, the Guardian of gaming magazines, right? Or the Independent, if you're on the other side of the fence. Whereas, when you go to the official ones, that's like you're getting down to the Mirror and the Sun. They're the tabloids.
I was just going for the punny use of the word edgy there, referring to a magazine called Edge. So
yeah, that's why I ignored it, because it was a terrible joke. But I expect those from you, Rob. So
good.
Other ones I used to like is retro. There was a retro gaming magazine that was really good that used to come out as well. I don't know if that still does, but Edge is still going, isn't it? So yeah, that's the one that I
buy
keep an eye
PC
on.
Gamer.
Yeah, not bad. But yeah, I mean, it's a it's a skill and it's a thing that they're all going to be gone eventually, aren't they? None of them can survive forever, surely.
A sad sign of the times, I
I
think.
think it's the way it is, yeah. But I don't know. For the most part, you just don't get the quality of writing, the quality of journalism on a website, you know, as you do in those printed magazines. You can tell more effort goes into them because there's a permanence to them. So,
and it's more screen time, so more ads, more cookies, more pop-ups, more data being gathered on you rather than just buying a magazine, sitting in a park and reading.
it's not like the magazines aren't full of ads, though. But I mean, do you know,
No, but digital ads where you're just a click away from a purchase, they're much worse than something you then have to remember, go away, look up, research into, then buy, as opposed to tap and buy.
I'm trying to think. I bet, Richard, you were a Games Master kid, yeah?
What, for the magazine? No,
Yeah.
never bought it.
No, okay. I'm trying to think.
No.
What were you into? Just official ones, like
No,
Nintendo or anything, or
What did I buy? I bought Edge.
yeah.
I did get an official PlayStation magazine occasionally when there was a good demo disc. CVG.
Mhm.
I think that's probably about it. There was a few. Depends what format period you're talking about. So Atari ST, I used to buy
Oh wow,
the
nice.
one for ST, ST format. Mean Machines was another one that was pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I was particularly loyal to any one magazine. I just used to buy a bunch, depending on what was in them. But yeah, sad to see them all gone now, pretty much.
Yeah, you just don't. I mean, I can't remember the last time I walked into a W8 Smith's. Like, I really can't. But like, certainly don't see them in the supermarkets anymore, do you? Or very few. of them.
Well, you do, depending on the size of the supermarket. But I think Richard has our last story.
Oh.
Do we now need to vamp again for 5 minutes? Yeah.
I know where I am. So
I know where I am, dearie. I'm at the computer.
right, we talked pre-show about whether to include this story or not because I'm not sure there's enough information in here to warrant talking about it. So, listeners and viewers, tell me if I'm right or not. IO Interactive, makers of Hitman, are making a new game, and it might be a fantasy game, and it's apparently going to be on Xbox, and maybe it's got a dragon in it.
Thing is, we're basing this speculation on the fact it's got an IP called Project Dragon,
Yeah.
which, if project names are anything to go by, Xboxes should now be red. So,
Yeah.
who knows?
Well, I've heard people talking about what this might be. Is it scale bound? Bob, is it going to be scale bound?
Yes! You've broken Ben, thank you! I really
Why did you have to intone that? I mean, like, why?
I missed that game.
You don't miss that game. That
Yes,
game
I
got
do.
canned before it came out.
I was so hyped for that game.
No, you weren't.
Do not understand how much I was looking forward to Scalebound. This better be fucking Scalebound now.
I don't want to start making up a load of stories about this because we could be here forever. But in the article, it talks about how it might be in a medieval sort of world featuring dragons, and they're looking for people to develop multiplayer network capabilities for the game. So I don't know. That says to me maybe it's something to do with Fable. Are they doing the online component for Fable?
I'm wondering whether they're just going to make medieval high fantasy Hitman.
It's not Fable, Richard. Fable was a first-party IP. So it's not Fable because IO Interactive are not a first-party developer. So I can tell you that much. It will not be Fable.
They don't have to be. They could be.
They're going to farm out. They've just bought 400 developers, but they're going to farm out the multiplayer aspect of Fable to IO. No, they're not doing that. No.
I reckon it's going to be, like I said, a high fantasy Hitman.
Well, but they're not. I don't think it's that either because they've got the James Bond franchise as well now. IO have got the James Bond license, so they're doing a James Bond game. So that's the continuation of the Hitman style. This is going to be different for them. They're going to be seeing.
Why are they doing it just for Xbox?
Well, like a second party exclusivity deal. It'll be Xbox and PC, yeah. But I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. It's interesting that we've got another fantasy product coming out into a slate of a lot of fantasy products on Xbox. I'm not really sure why we're doing that. I don't really know, but I mean, like, IO are a good developer. They're solid. The Hitman games are very, very good if you're into those. I have bought them all and proceeded to not really play any of them. So
Good
hopefully
job.
I'll get around to that at some point in the future. Maybe this year when there's no other
What's
games.
I say? Release throughout this year. Go for it.
I might well do that, but I'm curious. It's always exciting to see a developer, spread its wings a little bit and try new stuff, because they've become known for Hitman, and it's a similar thing that comes to mind for like Bungie and Destiny, and the news that these developers are going to branch out and they're going to try new products and they're going to try new things, and I really hope they're totally different to what they've become known for, because otherwise what's the point if you just stay in your safe wheelhouse?
A bold man with a dragon tattoo on the back of his head.
I really hope if it's like character creation you can do that. Just be wonderful.
It's going to be a cross between Richard and Vin Diesel, so I love it. Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap news up there. We've been talking about news for quite a while now, and let's get into Game Pass Club. Who wants to? First of all, tell me, guys. We're going to be talking about Narita Boy. Tell me, out of you guys, how much have you played?
Couple hours.
See, I actually ran into a problem and could not continue because the game glitched out on me and barred progress.
Really?
Yep. After
it sounds like
you're meant to,
but anyway.
You're meant to get the 3 little locks to unlock that door, right? Got the first 2, and the third one, I went and communed with the digital guy in the extra realm thing, whatever it was. I forgot the name, so I'm just ruining it. I apologise. And he wouldn't give it to me. So then when I went to go and check the door was locked. Then I went back, and he doesn't have an interactable option. There's nothing for me to pick up.
Glitch. There's
somewhere else you got to go. Missing. Yeah, you've missed a switch. So this game doesn't. This game is kind of weird, right? So let's talk about Narita Boy a little bit. By Studio Koba. First of all, love the visual presentation of this.
Oh,
yes,
so cool looking. Like it feels like a really weird Tron, basically. So it's basically like this digital world that you get sucked into. You're like the chosen one, but it's got a mixture of like Tron, but also some fantasy vibes to it as well. Great pixel art, incredible soundtrack as well. Really good sound and music design, fantastic, very evocative. And then what I loved as well was that as soon as you start talking to stuff, you just start getting these expositional dumps of world building, and it's like it is truly confusing and unique and bizarre and weird and very, very fresh and different. But I think what Rob is talking to here is a great example of how it doesn't handhold you. It requires quite a lot of backtracking and kind of just memorizing where you've seen things, because you have to go back and remember to do a thing, and then go back over here and do a thing, and go over there and do a thing. And then it's like there's no map, there's no there's an objective list, but there's no indication on the objective list where you need to go or what really you need to do, just that you need to achieve something. So you're constantly like, when you get further in as well, it becomes even more obfuscated. So you're always just poking into every nook and cranny, because it really doesn't make it obvious what you need to do a lot of the time. And that sounds like where Rob's fallen down. Go on.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of Fez. It's like a 2D Fez with sword combat.
Interesting. I guess I see where you're coming from. The iconography, the sort of
that whole thing about the symbols and just having to remember where you've seen stuff and what things mean, interpolating patterns.
There's that one guy when you get to the big frog, Richard, and he goes, "This is the symbol. You might want to write it down if you can't remember it." And it's basically says, "We're not gonna give you a log. We're not gonna make this easy for you. Either get a bit of pen and paper or memorize it." You're cool.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay. Thankfully, that's one thing I do like about the symbols. Like, they are quite easy to memorize because they are really distinct to each other. So it's like yellow sideways V, 3 dots in blue, And so I found that actually quite easy to remember those. But yeah, I think I know the bit you're talking about, Rob, and you just needed to go somewhere else and do a different thing.
Yeah.
I spent half an hour doing that because it doesn't you can't look at the dialogue again. You can't interact to find out the hint of what you need to do. If you press the B button a little bit too fast and didn't finish reading, you're fucked.
Yeah. And I know
which is what
you mean.
happened to me.
There's a guy at the end of that level, isn't there, on that screen where he's just sitting near the water, and you think, well, surely this guy's going to give me something, but you never get a chance to talk to him. He's nothing to do with it. So there's just a door that you need to walk through that you haven't found yet.
It was very frustrating.
It's some of the level design, because in a game like that you kind of expect to be going forwards, right? Always progressing, always pushing on. Actually, you have to do a lot of backtracking. And there's like a lot of times when you've got to go over here and then go back over there and then go back over here with a new thing and then go back again. And it's like, actually I found that early level, the early stuff that, which confused you, because of all the lifts and the different doorways, right, was actually more confusing than some of the later stuff, which seemed a bit more straightforwards. It's almost like they preload the game to push as many people off of it as possible, as quickly as possible. It's like, well, if you can't be asked, fuck off. It's a strange design choice.
I was really enjoying the combat. The combat was great. The dodge is a little bit weird. Trying to dodge in midair, that was problematic. That took me about 15 minutes to make one jump.
Really?
When it's introduced, dashing in midair, just didn't. I would dash and I go backwards.
Yeah, you got to hold the direction as well.
I was.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I was.
You got to get better at games, Rob, mate. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I did that all first try. I mean, that was like, I don't know why that was difficult for you.
It just didn't work. But I think I would still be on it now if there was a heavier focus on combat.
It definitely increases. Like when you get out of that first world,
the moveset grows as
big
well.
time.
So you've got a lot more to do. It ends up feeling a bit more like Guacamelee the more that gets added to the combat.
I don't love the combat. I like the moves you can do. I don't like the encounter design. I found that what I kept happening to me in the encounters was there'd be a couple of enemies and I'd kill them pretty quick, and then I'm still on that encounter and I'm just waiting for more dudes to appear. And it felt, and then sometimes they'd give you a combination of dudes that felt really unfair. Like you just get boxed into a corner and just your health would get eaten up. And then those encounters are really boring because they're always on like a flat plane. You might have some dudes jumping or aerial enemies, but then they just sort of, the way they vary them is just more enemies. Then there's no kind of like environmental design to that combat, at least not in the areas that I did. I mean, the only time they ever had anything different was like they just reduced the platform size I was on. So it's like, okay, I've now got to just do all of that, but without falling off in a smaller space.
Yeah.
But I did think the jump and the dodge, when you combine it, you could avoid contact with the enemies quite easily. I like the OP range attack. So if you just need to clear or do a lot of damage, just kill everyone, which was pretty cool. And I like the shotgun version as well. If you get like the dudes in close and you just want to get a bit of distance. I thought the enemies were interesting. I like the design of the enemies, and that you meet some really weird like dudes that are introduced to you as almost like mini bosses that then just become ads. Like, and you have 4 of them at once, even though when you first face them, it was a boss fight. I like that. I really like how that. I like when people do that in games because it really feels like you're progressing and becoming more of a badass. That what was the boss is just an ad when you get another half an hour in. That's really cool. I think that's a really smart design choice. I just thought the variety of those actual fights could have been better, and maybe if you get further into the game they do get more like, maybe they do stuff with the levels. I don't know. I haven't finished the game, but what I played I really liked. I was surprised how unhandholdy it was. I thought it was going to be a bit more straightforward, but actually, like Richard said, it does sort of connect a bit to Fez, that it requires quite a lot of mental focus, that you are having to pay attention to dialogue, that you really need to pay attention to puzzles and stuff like that. It's not just a combat game at all, and the world and the visuals are so evocative. Like, I really enjoyed all that a lot, like just being the digital chosen one, doing the Tron fantasy, as a fan of those movies and that franchise. That was really cool. Anything else?
It doesn't feel hokey either, does it? It takes itself fairly seriously. Not that it's dour or grim. It's just it it doesn't see itself as a figure of fun, even though something like that could quite easily be, because it could almost be a pastiche, couldn't it? Like an 80s throwback to, hey, look, this looks like kind of a NES game. Isn't that funny? But it's a serious game in itself, and some of the themes it goes through as well. I want to see where that goes, because it's all about the programmer of the game losing his memories, and you're working out where they're stored so you can upload them again. And you go through like childhood memories, which are not particularly pleasant of this guy. So yeah, it's got an interesting tone to it. Mechanically, it's got some cool stuff. So I like the idea that you have to pay attention and remember where stuff has happened and find your way back there. But it compartmentalizes that stuff as well. So it's not like this huge sprawling map. There are sections that you have to complete. Then you move on to the next one, which has a few different areas to work on. Then you move on to the next one. So it never gets too unwieldy. Just going back to the Guacamelee point as well, I think that there's quite a lot in the combat there that is similar to Guacamelee. But you've already touched on this, Ben, that the shape of the environments, it feels quite flat often where you have these fights. And I think that what we haven't said, the moveset itself, at this point in the game where I'm up to, it doesn't feel like I've got enough versatility to control the battle. It feels like I'm reacting to where the enemies go, rather than in Guacamelee, you can kind of direct the battle yourself and push people into a corner, uppercut them into the air, and make the space for yourself. You can't really do that in this. It feels a bit more, I suppose, under pressure for you to just back yourself into a corner or inevitably get hit where you don't feel like you've got any way out of it. So yeah, it has some weaknesses there in comparison to its competitors. But yeah, it's an interesting title.
Would you guys recommend the game?
Yeah, I would. I'm curious. Like, are you going to keep going with it, Rich?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I'm a pretty fair chunk into it after only a couple of hours. I don't get the impression it's a huge game.
No, I think you're looking at maybe 6 to 8, judging by the structure of it. Yeah.
I did see a walkthrough that's 4.
Well, if you know all the puzzles and all of that stuff, if you don't have to go and find the runes and stuff to tell you what to enter, if you just have the guide for it, yes, would make things a lot quicker, I suspect. So yeah,
I think I'll finish it.
I was just on their website now looking at their inspirations, and I can absolutely see it. So gameplay wise, they're Castlevania, Another World, Double Dragon with a modern twist, and then film wise, they're very 80s. Ready Player One inspired them. He-Man, Last Starfighter. All this stuff connects to my childhood absolutely. And it certainly is evocative of all of that. And I just think it's got a different feel to it, though. It doesn't feel quite like those things. It feels like it's its own unique vision, and it looks so good. It does look really, really good.
The animation is really good.
Yeah, it's just, and all the design elements, the character design, enemy design, environmental design, fantastic looking game, just across the board. I just hope, I do. I'd be curious to find out, Richard, if you do go further. Like, does the combat change up? Do things evolve and develop, or does it stay that kind of flatter combat experience? Because that was the only bit for me that was a bit lacking. Like, even though I had different powers and abilities and stuff, I didn't really feel like I had great use of them, like great reason to employ them. Because you can just whack away at someone with the sword very repetitively and just stay out of their attacks.
And it does feel like this sort of thing, well, I'll do this move now. It doesn't feel like you're stringing moves together, So, Guacamelee, again, it just felt like you could just have, you could string huge combos together and there'd be numbers on the screen telling you how big your combo was. But this just feels like, right, now I need to do this slash, now I need to do a dash, now I need to back off, then go back in with the jump in slash or whatever. But it feels very fractured in terms of its combat fluidity.
But yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's definitely worth checking out. I think we'll pick a new one for 2 weeks from now at another time and come back with that. Maybe we'll tweet it out or something. But yeah, I'm not got anything on top of my mind right now. I want to play Destroy All Humans remake, and they've just added that, but they've also put on that Second Extinction one, which is in game preview as well. So I'm kind of tempted to suggest that one as well. So I don't. Where are you? Have you guys got any thoughts?
Second Extinction would work remarkably well.
Well, that's just Destiny style open world shooter, but with dinosaurs. Yeah.
Haven't got the first clue. Never heard of the game before.
It is what
it's
it
more
is,
of the fact
yeah.
I have plans to play it with a friend this afternoon.
That works out quite well, doesn't it? What do you feel? Anything on your mind, Richard, that you'd like to give a go?
I don't know. I should have prepared this. I don't know. I think I'll just go with whatever I'm told to because I can't think of anything good.
Brain, no work. No work, brain. Something like that. Okay.
Something like that.
How about we move on to games we've been playing, because I really want to hear from Richard about Returnal.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Returnal's great.
I know nothing about Returnal.
Do you know what? Well, I'm going to tell you all about it.
Good.
So this surprised me. I bought it. I pre-ordered it for £70.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you spend 70 quid on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
after I bought it, I found out it's a roguelike game. I was like, oh god, have I spent £70 inadvisedly? But you guys would love this. So you're both big Hades fans, right?
Very.
Mm-hmm.
This is like 3D Hades.
I mean, I've watched a lot of video on this and read up a lot on it, and I don't see that, but okay, go on.
Okay. Maybe you know better than me because you've played a lot more Hades than I have. I still need to go back and do that properly. But the idea of Returnal, you are Celine, you are on a spaceship that crash lands on a planet called something. And
Returnator.
Something.
Returnator? Returnee.
No,
Returnaler.
it ain't that.
No?
The planet's called something. How interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely got a name.
Something, somewhere, sometime, somehow.
So she crashes and she loses her weapon and her ship doesn't work anymore, so she's kind of stuck. What does she do? So she has a walk around and she finds someone else with the same spacesuit on as her, so obviously from the same crew. Upon closer inspection, it is her. So flipping heck, guys, what's going on? And Returnal is about her understanding the loop that she's in and trying to get through it, however many attempts it takes. So it takes on the form of a roguelike where the environment changes every time that she dies. And she loses pretty much everything when she dies. All of her weapons are gone. All of the power buffs and everything that she's picked up is gone, apart from a few key items that she retains. So you can make some progress within each run. But it's an exploration game that feels very much like Metroid as well. So it's got that female lead in a sci-fi environment with lots of purpley looking aliens knocking about. It sounds and looks quite Metroidy, and the scanner that she's got has that Metroid Prime vibe. There's a lot in there that you get out of this if you're a Metroid Prime fan. But just the core loop of the experience itself is surprisingly enjoyable and applicable to this genre. You wouldn't think it would work. So the guys that made it, Housemarque, this is the first game that they've done like this. They're famous for stuff like Super Stardust HD, Resogun, far more arcadey experiences that have that sense of, oh god, I've died, I'll try again. But in the sense that this is a 3D exploration game, it doesn't feel like that should fit. And I suppose in a sense there is a tension there, and I'm not sure whether they've got the balance quite right. But this is a game where you're expected to finish the entire game in one sitting, because if you die, that's it. You can't save your progress apart from putting your PS5 into rest mode.
That's what I saw. That's what I saw they recommended, which is not maybe the smartest move with PS5s being as they are right now with that.
No. So
I'm seeing your comparison to Hades here, to be honest. I've got the IGN review just for some gameplay footage because I'd seen nothing about this game. just so I can see how it sort of plays and stuff on one of my other monitors. That looks really fun.
It's really good. The moment to moment combat is really fun. So you start with a basic pistol, and that pistol doesn't have any attributes. The way that you get better guns is by killing enemies, and that increases your weapon proficiency, which only applies to that particular instance of run. So as soon as you die, your weapon proficiency is 0. But as long as you're building that up, once your weapon proficiency increases, it means that when you next find a weapon drop, which you get out of either a crates that you find or off particularly difficult enemies, they may drop weapons too. The higher your proficiency, the better that weapon will be. And it may have particular perks on it, like a narrow shot for a shotgun or increased fire rate for a machine gun, stuff like that. And the more you use those, the percentage effectiveness of those goes up until you unlock them as a permanent feature of those weapons going forward. So whenever you pick them up, they might have that ability on them.
What, have you completed a run yet?
No, I've got to the second biome.
Okay.
So this is where the concern of mine comes in, because I don't know how long it would take to do a single run of the entire game.
So you can unlock shortcuts, kind of like Spelunky, so you can skip biomes.
Not really, though. So that's where I was going, this weapon proficiency thing. For you to be able to get weapons that are good enough for the second biome, although you can skip pretty much straight there once you've beaten the boss of the first biome, I don't know if it's advisable, because you won't have a weapon proficiency good enough to take on those new enemies. So you kind of have to go through the whole thing again. If you want a decent stab at getting any further, you've got to go through all of that first level and try and max out all of your weapons and your stats, increase your health. You can pick up different parasites that give you abilities as well, that you just stick on your body, and they'll make you have stronger armor. But they always come with a downside as well. It might mean that if you've got a particular parasite, although it gives you armor, it does mean when you pick up another item, you always take damage. Stuff like that. So you've got to make strategic choices about whether it's worth the benefit to have that detriment to you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it is PS5 exclusive as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Oh,
So from what I've seen of it, a few things that struck me was that, first of all, the weapons seem really uninspired. And just like very, very shotgun, machine gun, pistol, stuff like that.
no, mate, the weapons are great, and I'll tell you why they're great. And this is entirely down to the PS5 tech, because the controller, you couldn't do this on anything else. You know, the pressure sensitive trigger thing.
Yeah,
or the haptic stuff.
they turn him into a
Yeah,
GameCube controllers, basically, from what I've heard.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. Ben, Rob, do you remember that on GameCube?
I never had a GameCube.
On GameCube, the triggers had sort of 2 levels of pressure. So
Okay.
to press them down at the very last half a centimeter, you'd have to push really hard, kind of like a camera shoot button, you know.
Okay.
But they do this on the PS5 controller for this. So pulling it in at the first level is your aiming. Pulling it into the second level, which you kind of have to like click through, that gives you your secondary ability on the weapon.
So aim and secondary ability are the same button.
Yes, which sounds weird, but when you know how it feels, it's right. It works. It's really good.
Okay. I will take your word for that one for now.
It means that in combat, you can instantly trigger your special without worrying about which button it's on or changing where your fingers are. You're just on it, and you can trigger it immediately. So having that ability to aim, and then as soon as you know that your special charged, you just pull your aim in a little bit more. You'd think that it wouldn't be... It might be a bit wild in controlling that, and you trigger it off all the time accidentally, but you end up not doing that. It's quite easy to manage, and it's really accessible. So that feels great. You're right, Ben. The weapons themselves, I suppose, in design, are not anything new. You've got a shotgun, you've got a machine gun, like a rifle thing, and a handgun. That's all I've found so far. But the extra modes that they've got on them are pretty cool. So you've got like laser beams and all sorts of different things.
The other thing I've picked up from what I've seen is that I've seen the first 2 biomes, and they just seem really meh. I mean, you were talking about comparisons to Hades, and that's the reason I brought up weapons, and then the biomes, and then I was going to ask you about story and narrative, because to me, Hades' weapons are fantastically well designed. Obviously, the biomes, the art in that game is next level, whereas this just seems very uninspired from what I've seen. And then I was going to ask you, like, how well does it layer in the narrative? And what I've seen of that, that is pretty good, because it is different, and you get different audio files depending on where you are in your runs and stuff, and they don't repeat and things like that, which I think is actually really clever to add to the world and to keep giving you little bits about what's going on. So that seems pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that is smart. So you'll pick up audio logs along the way, alongside dead bodies of Celine, where she'll be talking about how she's just met another version of herself and killed herself. And just grappling with the reality of it, how she's going to get out of it, whether she is herself or whether she's a walking corpse of herself. It's interesting, and she'll find things in the world as well. Like she finds her old house, and you can go explore around her house, and you'll see that there's an astronaut outside the window that keeps looking at her, and that's the mystery. Like, who is this astronaut that's following around, and what does all of this mean? So there's a mystery tied up in there that's interesting to explore as you're repeating this game.
The other thing that struck me was how housemarquey it was with the kind of the bullet swarms that come out of the enemies. It's like, oh yeah, these guys made Super Stardust. Of course they did. You can see it, and it's been kind of like smashed into this third person roguelike action adventure game.
It does
which
feel
is
like that,
bizarre.
From the bullet hell nature of it down to how you teleport between locations and just turn into a whole load of glowing particles and float off. It does feel very Housemarque.
Which is cool. They've got like a thing, and that's their thing. Yeah.
And the way that the levels randomize as well, it's just the right balance, I think, because they're not entirely random. They are pre-authored sections of levels, but kind of like like in a board game like Space Hulk or something, where you might have sections of board that you plonk together. It feels like that. So each section of a level is distinct, and you'll recognize it. You'll go back to it and think, right, I know this bit, I know how to do this section. But what it branches off into will be something that it didn't branch off into last time. It will be from a set section, a set of sections that you will have experienced, but just in different orders, maybe with different enemies thrown into them in different ways. And it feels familiar enough that you think, yes, I'm making progress and I'm understanding how to do this level now, without it just being the same thing every time, which would be quite a tall ask of a player, given that you've got to make such an investment in every run, because ultimately you're working towards completing this game, and that might be several hours in one run. So you don't want it to be completely wasted in just treading old ground. It just feel reasonably fresh each time.
I'll be really curious for you to report back when you've got further in and beaten
done a
it.
run.
Yeah, and like how things start to make sense. What you're talking about with the maps there and stuff is exactly how they do it in Dead Cells and Hades as well. And it's like that's the sweet spot, because full random doesn't work as well, I don't think.
No.
But no, I'm report back to us when you're further in, because I love it when these types of games do try and like deal with the nature of the game as part of the narrative. So I can't wait to see, like, because Hades, of course, that's how Hades is one of the reasons it's so fantastic. It's because how it internalizes what that game is. So I think, I'm looking forward to seeing what you say about Returnal. But we should move on because we're starting to run quite long now. We're about an hour and a half now. Rob, you've been playing more Marvel's Avengers?
Yeah, I did the Kate Bishop DLC, or most of it, with a friend of mine in the week. Mostly it irritated me that I needed to sign up for an account to something to be able to play online. That was a real bee in my bonnet, as the saying goes. Really irritated me. I wanted to play with my friend, so I had to. I was boxed into a corner. No, don't like it.
Welcome to 2021, but
yeah. Extreme dislike, but sign up because you have to. It was all right. Yeah, she's a little bit of an.
She's a firecracker, isn't she, Rob? Oh.
Yeah, all right.
She's a
Captain
modern
America
woman.
is significantly more fun.
Yes. Always. Bouncing shields is brilliant in that game. Really good.
It plays very well, and as a game, so I played it on the Series X. It's the first time I played it in a while now, and I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed playing more of it. I just wish there was more DLC already because it's been out so long, and we have 2 packs. So I just wish there was more there.
Well, you're one of the 6 people still playing it, so good job. I'm going to touch on a game now quickly before we wrap things up, which there will be a separate video of, so I won't be doing a huge amount on it. But I just wanted to mention I've been playing Exo One by Expletive, which is a great name for a studio, but it's just basically one guy, a guy called Jay Weston, and this game's been coming for a long time now, many years. And I got preview code for it, so not early access, not release code. It's not even got a release date yet on Steam. So I got like a selection of levels. And how do I describe this game? The parallel has been drawn to Flappy Bird, but I think it massively underserves what this is. It's an exoplanet exploration experience. It's kind of reminds me a bit of Journey. Gorgeous alien vistas that you traverse using an experimental probe technology which can manipulate gravity so that you can kind of fly around at these incredible speeds and just see these monolithic alien worlds full of artifacts and weird shit and explore them and then jump to hyperspeed, which is much like what it's like in 2001 A Space Odyssey, and it looks incredible and it's so much fun to play, and I'm going to get into it a lot more in a separate video which will be up shortly. But this should be on people's radar, and guess what, it's not just going to be PC, it's coming to Series X this year as well. So this is going to be a game that people should definitely check out if they're into a bit of hard sci-fi. There's a story involved here as well, but just weird alien shit and beautiful worlds, just gorgeous. So yeah, Exo One, keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye out for it. It's going to be really good. But that's all I'm going to say about that at the moment. Check out the video when it's up.
Cool.
Did anybody want to? I also played Watch Dogs Legion, but really all I was going to say about that was probably not going to play much for Watch Dogs Legion.
The thing is, I've dabbled in a bunch of stuff. But...
Sorry?
Why did you go back to Legion?
Because it's now stable and not a shit show anymore. But it's just not very fun, I guess.
No. Well, you kind of knew that though.
I did.
Did you think having it working might make it more fun?
A bit more fun, maybe. What did you say, Rob?
I've dabbled in a few bits, but nothing exciting. I've not really played much this week, so just not had the time.
Fair enough. I think that brings us to the end of another podcast then, guys, unless anybody's got anything else they wanted to throw out there. No, we're good. They're all silent, so I can take that as a no. So that has been another episode of Experience Kills, episode 28. I've been your host, Ben. You can find me at DIYE. My co-host today was Rob, and you can find him at Homeless Mr. Gibbs, and including in the trio of awesomeness, we had Richard, which can be found at Colonel Red on the Tweetosphere. You can also find us collectively at Experience Kills. Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. That would be amazing. Also, you can now follow us and do all of that stuff on Twitch. Now that we're streaming on there as well. While you're at it, please bear in mind that all of these videos are available as audio podcasts, which you can be found on anywhere a good podcast can be found. And if you can't find it on your podcast provider, let me know and I promise to make that available. That is my guarantee.
Personal guarantee.
So I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's everything. We're going back next week. I don't know who's going to be joining us actually, because Cam, congrats, he's got a new job, so he might be starting that. I don't know when he's starting that, but it's going to affect his availability at the weekends. But well done to Cam. So it might just be me and Rob. We might have another special guest.
Ooh.
Who knows? Who knows? I know that Richard is a very busy man. So very
Election this week might be
a tad busy. Yeah, tad busy. Yeah. Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Wishing him all the best of luck on that one. So, until next time, enjoy your gaming. We'll be back soon. Keep an eye out for the Exo One video coming up, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.